All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We will open the meeting of the library trustees. First, we will do an audio roll call on Carolyn Coffey, Chair.
Linda Giacomo.
Sarah Pease.
Megan Princey.
Catherine O'Callahan.
Oh, you're muted, Mary Lou. Well, she's unmuting. Steve Brown, clerk.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, good.
You want to identify
say your
yourself,
name.
Mary Lou?
Mary Lou Lawrence.
Thank you. And Bronwyn?
Elson, Acting Director.
Excellent. So first item of business is the minutes from the August meeting. Thank you, Steve. Excellent job. Are there any questions or comments? If not, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Good job, Steve.
Second.
I think for our purposes, we can say all in favor, and then rather than doing a roll call vote, maybe we'll do roll call vote on the bills, but for the minutes, are all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The minutes were passed unanimously. Elaine, would you identify yourself, unmute yourself, and then identify yourself for the roll call?
Elaine Breslow.
Thank you. Thanks for joining us.
Sorry.
No worries. We just approved the minutes. But we did, thank you for pointing out the roll call requirement. So we did go through that. And now Bronwyn, center stage. Is this your last one that you have to do this, or is there one more?
You know, I'm not really sure. I've talked to Megan a few times. She's, I think, raring to come back, but I'm not really sure what her schedule is as far as, you know, how many more weeks she has to be out. So maybe one more. If not, then I'm happy to relinquish the reins. That's fine. But anyway, so my report's kind of long. There's a lot of things been going on at the library. I don't need to go through every point step by step unless you want me to. The biggest things we talked about that are worth talking about are, you know, continuing to do the curbside. That's going really well. We've been doing a lot of giveaways, especially for the kids, little crafts that tie in with books. And Sharon was on vacation this week, so it didn't get out right away this morning. And they said they were inundated with phone calls of people wanting to know where their craft and book is. And so it's actually good to know that people really are looking forward to it. And they've been happy to have that option. So I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I also filmed a Cohasset Common segment with Chris Sr. on how the curbside pickup works and the process of it. And it was a little embarrassing to do because I didn't have any advance warning that he was coming over, but it came out pretty good. So maybe that will get us some more business, I guess, people.
And where does that does that get posted on our website, on the town website, or is it, how do people find it?
I found it's on 143, so I just Googled it because I wanted to see how bad it came out. I don't really enjoy these things. And it's part of a segment. There's one with Diane Kennedy at the beginning, and then there's something about Fleming's, and then the library. So it's all in one series that Don has put together. So I don't know if there's a link on the town website. It seems it's Chris Sr.'s baby. It's Cohasset Common is his show. And I imagine it would probably be on the 143 schedule at some point, but that's how I found it. So we just did it. I think it was last week, so it's relatively new. So anyway, that was interesting. Let's see, what else? Community services group is working together. We're trying to get something where we can provide new residents of the town information about how to get a library card or what services we offer, also what Elder Affairs offers, Safe Harbor.
I love this idea.
Yeah. We meet once a month and kind of came up with that as an idea of sort of, you come to town, you don't really know things that people take for granted. So kind of thought it would be great to reach out to new families. And originally we had talked about getting the email addresses of the families from the different real estate agents. Lily Sestito had offered that, but I don't think with privacy, I don't think that's a good idea as far as privacy rules go. I don't know if people would be too happy to have their information like that shared, but address is a public record, and so we can go that route and put together a packet just to send out. So that was something that we've been working on. We've also working on the virtual teen center, since we don't know when the physical teen center is going to be open. And Nicole from Safe Harbor's really been kind of putting that together with Jen Oram, and they're going to have we're trying to come up with a logo that will be on the town website. Someone can click on, and it will give all the teen and tween resources, programs, things to do for all the different departments. So I think it's a great idea, and we'll see how that goes. So. Oh, and also I can't remember who was asking last time. Might have been Megan, about how we're doing readers advisories, or like kind of how to give up people ideas of new books to read and what we've got out there. And so we were kind of brainstorming a little bit, and we do have some things on our website, but Bridget's been tweaking it a bit so that pretty prominently, if you just go on the website, first thing you'll see is new children's books, new nonfiction, new fiction. And so you can kind of get a feel for what we have, what's available. A lot of times people read, the New York Times book list, but then those books aren't out yet. And so that they're kind of frustrated because they'll call us and try to get a hold on something that is either on order or not even out yet. So this kind of gives people an opportunity to see what we have. And so I thought it was a great idea that they thought of doing that.
Bronwyn, excuse me,
Yes.
these ideas are coming up from staff and your staff meetings, and that's wonderful.
Yeah. They're all very creative people, and it's kind of encouraging to see the things that they've been able to come up with. I mean, this is unprecedented times, and to kind of see how they've run with it, so it's been pretty fun working with them and seeing what we can do with what we have to deal with. Let's see. Oh, and then I don't know if you read the section about the Richard Shute and the endowment letters. His family goes way back. Lynn, you probably are familiar with the Shute family, but they've always had an endowment fund, and every year we send him and his sister, they both live in Cambridge, the list of all the books that we purchase, and it's I think about over $4,000 every year, so it's a pretty significant list of books that we purchase. And this year he called to say thank you, for sending him the letter and getting him updated and giving him the list. And then he also mentioned that his daughter is a writer and teaches at Northeastern. And so she wanted to donate her books. And then Gail has reached out to her about possibly doing an author talk or some kind of online program. she writes about graphic novels, and we're also doing a graphic novel, like kind of a how-to draw one, like a sort of a program for mostly for teens, I think, but could be, I guess, for anybody who's interested in that genre. So we thought maybe that might tie in together and we could do some sort of graphic novel week or something like that. But that's not till October, so we have a little bit of time to kind of figure that out. But that was interesting talking to him. And let's see, other than that, I did note that Bridget and Megan have been helping out the town running their open meetings. So that's been really helpful and great of them to take their time to do that. And I think the town's really appreciated that. And other than that, I just, we were talking, a filmmaker has been contacting me. I've heard from him a couple of times about he wants to film outside of the library. And I'm leaving that up to the health department and and Chief Sylvia to decide if that's something that they feel is reasonable to do. And then the only other thing, which I didn't put down, that just happened was Glenn Pratt came by the other day to talk about when we open, how is this going to work? He's procuring all of the plexiglass and safety equipment. We started with Town Hall, which is now, I think, going to open finally next week. It's a pretty complicated process to figure out how to position all the people the staff members in safe spacing, as well as how to make it safe for people to come in. So he's starting that process here at the library. So we'll see what he comes up with. It's so ironic because we just moved Gail over to her nice position, but the problem is now she's completely exposed on all sides, that if people do need to talk to her, she's going to have some kind of a safety area. Same with Sharon and Megan in the children's room. It has to be something very sturdy so it couldn't get knocked over, but also protect her from, somebody who doesn't want to socially be socially distant. So we'll see what he comes up with. That's what we're at. Anybody have any questions or comments or?
What's the film? Do you know anything about the film they want to do?
I don't know much about it. He's from California. He said he's self-funding, so it's a pretty small.
Okay. So we're not talking about a Witches of Eastwick.
We are not talking about that. But the reason I didn't really want to engage with him is there had been a student group that was filming over at Seabird Coffee downtown, and I guess they had gotten permission from the owner months and months before any of the COVID thing started. And so then when they were finally ready to film, they just showed up and started filming, and no one was wearing masks and no one was socially distancing. And Chief Sylvia had to go down and break it up, and they got kind of a little belligerent, I guess, about it. It became a whole thing. So I don't want to do that. So what I said to the gentleman was talk to the health department and the chief first, and then I don't, if they want to film outside the building, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it has to be done in the right way.
Do they pay to use the facility, or does the money go to the town?
I don't think they were planning on paying anybody. I think they could have probably just set up and started filming and not even asked, but so it was, they were trying to go through the right steps. But I don't know that there's any mechanism for them to pay, unless maybe I told the chief about it, and I asked him if there was a permit process, but I'm not aware of. And he said no, but you just have to follow the guidelines and protocols.
Bronwyn, I noticed recently there seem to be many more cars in the parking lot. Are people using the hotspots before it was just somebody would pull up and I would notice they would pick up, if they had something on hold under the tent. But now these cars seem to be, and they're not the ones where the electrical chargers would be. They're just kind of, I would say, I don't know, 6 or 7 cars at any given time. And I was just wondering if you've noticed an increase.
I think it's a combination of, yes, some people are using the Wi-Fi. I have seen people sitting in their cars. Some people park there and then go for a walk. The people who are working on the house across the street, sometimes the construction people park there. And then the only other ones that I can see that use it quite often are the families going down to use the playground. So they park up near the used to be a road, now it's blocked off, and walk down that way. So it really confuses people because they think we're open.
Right.
You know, if you drive by, it looks like there's a lot of activity going on. And so, you know, it is confusing. And you're right, it has looked like it's getting more frequently used. So something that when we do open, we'll have to push back,
Right.
not encourage people to use the law.
This is a question for both Carolyn and Bronwyn. If I were a neighbor of the library and had an electric vehicle, could I just park it in one of those spaces even though I wasn't using the library?
Technically, I think yes. But
I
we are
haven't
going to,
received much guidance about that. And then now, so the stations are actually have been installed, and it says on there, there's a yellow post, UV parking only, or, you know, whatever
okay,
that kind
we'll
of,
work on that.
which it wasn't supposed to say that. So yeah.
No, I'll
yeah.
talk to Michelle.
So it needs clarification. I agree. And we were actually talking about it the other day, and we're, you know, if and when we ever have something like Mama Steph again,
Yep.
someone parks in those
I
spaces.
talked to her and I talked to her and she specifically said, you know, there were multiple grants that they could have gone for, and they went for the National Grid one because there weren't any restrictions on it being electric vehicles only, that there were other, you know, ecological groups that were pushing that, and the town didn't want that. So, and she said she would work with me on signage. So I will reach back out to her and we'll get new signs.
I guess we're just concerned that if all those spaces are taken by non-electric vehicles, what happens when an electric vehicle person comes in? You have to move the person who's using that space? Who has, you know, the right? Is it just first come, first serve, and you'll have to find another charging station? I just not sure how that's going to work. There are more around in the back, but if it's a big program, those spaces might be taken as well.
But if you're coming into the library for a program, you're not going to be, you know, your thought process isn't, oh, I'm going to sit here for an extra 3 hours and charge my car. I don't think. So if we had some kind of signage that said, you know, please, these, you know, spots are reserved for, you know, during the hours, library hour, opening hours or something for library patrons, you know, and then after that, you know, I suppose it doesn't matter as much.
Right.
And do we care when it's closed if somebody parks there all night?
I mean, I don't know a lot about electric cars, but I'm assuming if I owned an electric car, I would have a charging spot at my house.
At your house, exactly.
Right? So I don't know how much need there's going to be, because most people who use the library are residents, and so they would have their fully charged car and drive it to the library. Maybe there will be some need. I just don't know enough about how long the charge lasts and that kind of thing. So.
I mean, one thing that could happen is folks who work downtown have an electric vehicle, and if they're particularly frugal, they might choose to park there during the day, because it is, if you buy the service that is offered by the various vehicle manufacturers, it does cost.
It does seem crazy for the town to be paying for the electricity for
Yeah.
consumers to charge their cars, but
Better signs are definitely needed.
Yeah.
Since the signs are going to be redone, it would be great if we could ask for forgiveness rather than for approval.
Forgiveness for what?
For saying these are for, as Elaine suggests, these are for patrons
Yeah.
only, and then let somebody argue with us.
Yeah, no, I have no intention of asking anyone except Michelle because she has to place the order and approve the money.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying if you suggest language that says,
Yeah.
as Elaine suggests, for patrons only.
Yeah, and I talked to Michelle about that already, and she was totally fine with it. So so I don't anticipate there being a problem, and if there is, I will report back. But I will just follow up again now that they're actually in. And
it may have to say during library hours, because I could say, well, I'm a library patron
Mhm.
and I'm going to park here overnight. I'm a patron.
Yeah.
I live in this town.
yeah, no, I think
Yeah.
that's good terminology. So I will definitely follow up on that and see if we can get some tasteful ones that are low enough, unlike those staff parking only signs that are like trees. You could easily miss them. Yeah, no, she was totally amenable to what we talked about in our last meeting, and so I'm going to go into it assuming that it's not going to be a problem.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bronwyn, was there anything else, or do you want to go into the bills?
I don't have anything else unless someone has another comment or question. The bills, again, are pretty straightforward. We are going to renew the Gardner Museum with the hopes that they will be up and running fully sometime soon. Some of the museums have given us extensions on our subscriptions so that we can, since we weren't able to use many of the tickets for quite some time. The aquarium has let us use double up, so we have new tickets, and then we can use the ones that were from March to July. So potentially 2 families could go on the same day. The motion picture licensing, traditionally that's so we can play, show movies on our programs. Traditionally, the Friends and the Cohasset Democrats have split the cost. We used to use a much more expensive license, and it's now significantly less. And I've been having trouble over the years getting the Democrats to pony up their half of the cost. So I'm going to propose just either asking the Friends to pay the entire $138, or the Friends can continue to pay their half, and we'll just, it comes out of the gift account. We have enough money to cover the, whatever that is, $65, $70. So it's just become, I've had to write them numerous letters. They eventually pay, but they didn't pay last year. And it just seems too much work for a small amount of benefit. But I'm happy to listen to any comments on that suggestion.
Do you know why they used to do that? Didn't they sponsor movies? Like they would periodically bring in like An Inconvenient Truth or something that they wanted people to see, right? Isn't that why they wanted?
I think that was before my time even, but as far as when I started paying the bills, but I think you're right that was a genesis for that. And they always do get recognition that the license is sponsored by the Friends and the Democrats. So, you know, if they're not going to pay their portion, then it doesn't feel right to keep them.
Okay. Well, I just don't know if they would then want to show a movie on our license, and which doesn't seem right either. So, but I don't think they've done that for a while. I don't even know, Agnes may have been the one who kind of worked with them on that, but I don't think they've done that in a while. Have they shown a movie?
Not that I'm aware of. You mean using the building to show something.
Yeah.
Outside groups, not that I'm aware of. No.
Maybe as a suggestion, it would just be politic, no pun intended. Write the person to whom you've corresponded with previously and just said, the amount is relatively modest, so unless you guys are interested, we'll just cover it ourselves.
It just,
And even if we haven't gotten payment by, then we will assume.
that you are no longer interested, because if
Yeah.
we say, if we're going to cover it ourselves, that almost says like, but you're welcome to show whatever you want. So
Yeah.
it's a bit like the Sunday author talk. So it was just so difficult to get, the actual funds after the pledges were given. So, and it's difficult to word the letter numerous times in a nice way, saying, we're still waiting for the money. So I'm happy to write them again and just say, if you're not interested, just say the word and that's fine. But this was something we've done for years, and if you want to continue, then
If you want to continue to receive recognition.
Right.
You can always go to the Republicans.
Or just, I'll threaten that. But other than
We'll
that,
save that for a more meaningful amount.
That's right. I'm not touching that.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than that, everything's pretty standard. Just books and supplies and materials and things like that. So, and anybody
Do
has
we
questions,
still?
I'm happy
I noticed there was a line in the bills for hotspot, and it was like $94 for the month, or I
Yes.
don't know if it's a monthly charge. Were those the hotspots that we would rent out to people? Like people could check out,
Yeah, that we have 3 of them, and they check them
and
out.
are they still circulating in this
Yes.
time? Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure.
We've had a little trouble where particularly one family continues to put holds on it. And so there's 2 schools of thought between the staff, as some feel like, well, at least someone's using it. And that's great. Otherwise, we'd just be paying for it and it's not going out. And then other people feel like, well, if you wanted to put a hold on it and it wasn't available, you'd end up being discouraged, and it sort of just limits it to one family using it. So
how long a period of time is each
I
borrowing?
think it's a couple of weeks. It's just, I think, like any other, most materials. And so then they'll renew it, or they'll have someone else in their family put a hold on it. So it just
Oh.
continues to stay in the family. So sometimes one of us will put a hold on it just to kind of force it to come back, give somebody else an opportunity to get it. So, but we have 3, so it's not really, it's not a big problem. But
There must
yeah,
be some families in Cohasset with distance learning that are
Right.
maybe could really use it effectively for that purpose.
I actually had a mother call the other day, and she was in a panic because her son had something he had to hand in. He might have even been a college student. I wasn't really clear on that, but she said, do you have Wi-Fi? And I said, yeah, just, it's outside in the parking lot, but it's a pretty strong signal. So come and she was like, I'm leaving right now. And hung up immediately, and I think ran down and sat out in the car with her son. I guess he had to send something. I'm not really sure what the details were.
Could somebody hypothetically be in the parking lot and send like a print order to our printer in the library?
I think in theory, although that the printer is not functioning that well. It was just getting set up when we closed up. And the problem is also you have to put money into it. So you can send the order to there's a monitor. You could send your print order, but then it tells you how much you owe. If it's 3 pages, it's 60 cents. Then you have to put the money in before it'll allow you to send it to the print machine. So we'd have to go out and get the money from the person,
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
go in, then print it, then take it back out. And we haven't really looked too carefully at doing that, because it just sounds like it's a lot of interactions with people and a lot of work for little return.
Are there any other questions or comments on the bills? And if not, could I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
We'll do a roll call vote on the bills. Carolyn Coffey, aye.
Steve Brown, aye.
Catherine O'Callahan, aye.
Linda Giacomo, aye.
Blaine
There.
Wilson, aye.
Megan Brinzy, aye.
Therapy's aye.
Mary Lou, did we hear
Lawrence,
from
aye.
you? Thank you. So the bills were approved unanimously. Bronwyn and I will come by. Are you in tomorrow?
I am.
Okay, I will come by tomorrow and sign for the payment.
Great.
And for the chair's report, needless to say, I don't really have anything. The only thing I was hoping to do is have a little bit of a discussion about starting to think about, again, if and when we're going to be allowing people to come into the building, and what conversations, Bronwyn, you've had with the staff. And, you know, obviously there's PPE that needs to be procured and everything. But, you know, are there baby steps that we can take, you know, where they just come in by the circ desk and look at the new releases and red hot reads, and maybe children's books, you know, so that people can browse, you know, just kind of what discussions are happening now and what we could do to help, or whether there's, if anyone has, if there's been demand even for it. I don't know. Somebody asked me the question, you know, what are you waiting for? You know, what are there levels of, you know, community spread that you're waiting for before you, you know, what's going to drive the decision to open? I'm like, well, that's a very good question. So I wanted to throw that out there for discussion.
One of the things that I've been thinking is, if we were open, it would be an alternative spot for people to go that wanted to get out of their house. So not necessarily just to take books out, but to maybe have another place to go.
I think at this point, when we do open, we're not really considering having people being allowed to congregate in the library. It's more of a quick service type of a program we'll be having, where people will be encouraged to only stay 15 or 20 minutes. There won't be any seating. Study rooms will not be open. Maybe like Carolyn's saying, come in and look at the new books or the DVDs, and then grab your items. We are getting the self-checkout is now going to be contactless. So that's in the works through OCLN. That's great. There's also, you can do the Me Scan on your phone. So there's a couple of options where people will not need to, you know, actually physically share items. But as far as people coming in, I don't think that that's going to be something we're considering, at least in the first phase of opening.
How did you leave it again with Glenn? I mean, he usually jumps right on these things.
Yeah, he's trying to brainstorm some ideas of how to protect the areas that people will be working. And so he took some measurements, looked around, talked to the staff, then he's going to come back with some ideas. He also was talking about trying to make whatever he's going to do should look appropriate for the library. You know, you don't really want something really ugly if it's going to be there for quite some time. He doesn't want to damage the woodwork, you know, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of issues as far as that goes.
Can you do it in phases, Bronwyn, so that as we think about reopening with limited space, can he think about just working it phased?
Possibly. I mean, I think probably the easiest part to protect would be actually the circulation desk, because there's, you know, the two natural areas where you could put plexiglass.
Mhm.
We were also talking about, though, a lot of times people try to walk behind the desk, so we have to put up some barriers on that. We're not quite sure what to do with the slips. We were talking about maybe putting the printer outside of the plexiglass so people could take their own slips, you know, that sort of thing. But I think those issues probably could be worked out relatively easily. Children's room, I don't know how that's going to work. And browsing is just challenging based on the physical space that we have, where it's so wide open, which is wonderful, but not great if you're trying to restrict people into smaller areas. So he was going to look at some options and then get back to us and see what he could come up with.
With the paper slips, I think people are used to getting receipts from stores and stuff, and half the time, you know, they just say throw them away. And so I would imagine that wouldn't be, you know, you could just say, do you want your slip?
Yeah, unfortunately, the slip prints regardless, because a lot of times people do say, I don't want the slip, and it just prints anyway. So it's just a waste of paper.
Well, I just mean from a safety perspective, you don't have to worry, you know.
You can ask the person, would you like your slip? In which case,
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be wearing, when those people at the circulation desk be wearing gloves anyway. I mean, they're going to have PPE, they're going to be wearing gloves.
And they definitely, Mary Goodwin said this morning at the department head meeting that even if you're plexiglass, you have to wear a mask, and the person on the other side has to wear a mask. So even though there is that there. The other thing is Pam from the Public Health Department said that the meeting this morning was talking about the schools and the school libraries. And they are quarantining all their items at least 3 days based on Department of Public Health and some of the other agencies that are testing. So we have the whole concern about materials, which right now we can control it because we're quarantining everything when it comes in, even transit or returns or any of that kind of thing. But what are we going to do if people are browsing and they're pulling out books and then they're putting them back, or they're looking at DVDs, and there's
Which they're going to do. Of course, they're going to do that.
which of course that's what you do.
And you
you're
know,
browsing. Exactly.
when you go into Buttonwood, Sarah, Buttonwood allows you to pick up a book and browse it. So they must have checked that out and made sure that that was okay. Sarah? Is she gone?
Geez, her connection's having trouble. Well, the same thing is true in the grocery store. I mean, how many bunches of bananas do you pick up and check before you bring one home or whatever?
But the thinking is you're not supposed to do that.
Right, right.
So my concern with all of this is as we head into fall and winter, why are we now even thinking about opening up more than what I read, Bronwyn, somewhere in your report, that perhaps you said, in dead winter, we're not going to be putting out books and, DVDs outside the way we could so conveniently do spring and summer. So I would suggest, let's think of a strategy to maybe do some kind of a contained setup so people will still be mostly holding books and picking them up versus any of this roaming around. I just don't see that. Until we see what really is happening with flu season and COVID resurgence, I just don't know why.
And a lot of our population is the at-risk population. The senior center is not going to open until at least January. So just to get guidance from that, we are also concerned about people who come in, and we've talked about using the meeting room as the staging area for the holds that we are now doing outside, with an eye towards just having people come in, take their item, not even come into the main building. And I talked with facilities about, there is a door in the community room that it says it has an alarm. I don't think it does, but I'm going to check that out before I propose it, that people can come in and go right out and not have cross paths or anything like that and just get their items and be on their way. So those are some of the suggestions we have so far. I am concerned about opening too soon without really being careful about what we're suggesting. And I actually, when I talked to Megan today, Megan James, we're going to go probably in a couple of weeks. We're going to go over to Situate and see what they're doing and how it's working for them. I know they are very limited. The services are very limited, and you have to have an appointment to go in the children's room. It's one family at a time. They're only allowing very limited browsing, and that's about it as far as I understand. But I just want to kind of get eyes on it and see how it is working, and talk to the staff and see what the issues are and what they are comfortable with.
Is Situate the only library that's open, Bronwyn? What about
In this
Hingham?
area, yes. And they, from what I understand, the town manager was really adamant that they did open. The last I talked to the director, she was not very comfortable with it, but making the best of it. So our town manager seems to be more taking the slower approach. They were taking a very long time to get town hall up and running, and even town hall is only going to be appointment only, and you really can only go in the vestibule in the town hall when they are open. If you don't have an appointment, you have to wait outside. I mean, it's going to be a very restricted opening at this point. So town seems very supportive of taking the slower approach rather than opening, then having to close again if there's a spike, or just putting people at risk. So.
And I would think also we would want to know exactly who is in the library when, and keep track of that. There would have to be a record of that.
Well, and there's things too, the staff is not comfortable being the gatekeepers. We're going to have a limited number of people allowed in. We're going to have to suggest people wear masks. You can't force people to wear masks or use Purell or any of that kind of thing. So the staff, a few people that I've spoken to have said they do not want to be the person standing around the door trying to get somebody to wear a mask who doesn't want to. And those kinds of issues are going to have to be addressed, of how do we keep count of how many people are in. Like you say, Mary Lou, how do we keep track of who's in? What if there is someone who has exposure?
Because there is an outbreak, we want to know who was there and who can, for all contact tracing. Yep. I mean, even if you go to a restaurant, you need to give them all that information. So if something happens, they have a record. Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues, and we do want to open, but we want to do it safely in a way that makes sense. So
if the library is opened, if the intent is to open the library just for browsing, no programming, no group gatherings, couldn't we use technology to help us kind of do, Amazon, you buy books and you don't touch them. I mean, can't we kind of work on maybe reviews or peer reviews or even displays, like photographs of displays, and put them on the website, or posters? And then I like that idea of a staging area for the drop off and pickups. I just think we need maybe to work on, for the winter, how best to draw interest into, just maybe, fiction and nonfiction and no reference books, just, build on it. But use this time now to kind of get ourselves set up for the intent that we probably won't be open in the winter.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing that people miss most, is browsing, and because the hold system is working great, and so many people have been able to take advantage of it. And if you read about some book that you want to get, then you can just go online and order it, and it comes. You can have it in a few days. But there's that group of people who don't know what they want, and they love that joy of just looking around in the stacks and then finding something they hadn't thought of before. So
if we do like a virtual tour of the library, I mean, you do that for real estate.
That's not going to satisfy a browser.
Is there a way,
But
During
it's-
COVID, it might have to.
is there a way to
You just-
promote Libby somehow? So, because you could kind of use Libby as a browser. Even if you don't want to use the ebook, you could, if you found the book, you could then check to see if they have it in a hardcover at the library. If we somehow figured out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that-
I mean, we're doing, I just was actually watching an episode today. Gail and Kristen are doing that shelf awareness, which you guys should really watch it. It's great. They pick out a number of books that not necessarily, the most current or, bestsellers, but just some kind of, they usually have a theme or something about, what they've been reading, and they discuss it and they kind of give a little synopsis of it. And it's been great. It's really a creative way to kind of, tell people what else is out there besides the latest Patterson or, one of those other big blockbuster books. So, but I like the idea of a virtual tour, or maybe a theme of the week or something, mysteries or some other kind of beach read or something like that could give people some ideas of different books that they
Yeah,
might not have
like we do a
otherwise heard of.
cleanup in aisle nonfiction. And then we, have one of the librarians go down that aisle and, kind of pull out some things and,
Yeah.
and
You could do it by subject,
Right.
here are the books on travel or whatever. But most especially could work well, again, with the Red Hot Reads and the new project. The thing that I used the library for the most was checking out, 10 to 20 children's picture books at a time. And there's no way I could have figured out what ones to put holds on, and that's just so great for the kids to just bring home that armful of books. So,
There's actually some families that are, I don't know how they're getting their lists, but because I help pull the holds, just a lot of them, and there'll be a stack of children's books for just one family. Sometimes they'll have their own bin. They have so many books on hold. And I'm not really sure where they're getting the titles from. We do have some things on our website of, here's the newest children's books, and there's plenty of other resources if you want to find out, what's, if you're doing a theme of unicorns or fairies or dinosaurs or something, you could get a list. So that maybe that's how they're doing it. But
also the
or maybe
library-
they go on Amazon and pull it up and it says other people who bought these, and
yeah,
or just
either
pull
way
them out.
you can get some names. It's great.
A
But
children's
if there's no
librarian
way to let
bundle.
Yeah. Sharon's been talking about doing bundles.
Yeah.
Of a
Potluck.
theme, construction or something, and then
Yeah.
just have you can come and pick up the whole pack and
Do it by age, by gender, by interest, and you can get 10 books or 5 books, and it's kind of fun.
Actually, you could, the book club bins, we could
Mm-hmm.
get some bins like that, and you just check out a whole bin, and that would make things easier
Yeah.
too.
Yep.
The barcodes. Anyway,
Yeah,
I
and then
I just want to make sure that,
Yeah, you
Go
can
ahead,
also
Elaine.
get feedback because you can actually have a little slip with it and say what worked, what didn't work, what did you love, what didn't, and then we know moving forward, and it also makes people feel that they're part of the process.
connection.
They have
Absolutely.
input into their library.
Yeah.
I like all those ideas.
well, thank you guys. I just want to make sure that, we're doing the best we can to deliver the services to the townspeople that they're hoping to get. So, whatever ideas that people have, and obviously, the staff's doing an amazing job. I just want to point that out again, because you guys are really terrific, Bronwyn, and I hope that you are sharing our
I tell them it
enthusiasm
regularly.
with everyone.
Yes, I do. I tell them. And
Now that
you know
I'm not there on a daily basis, I can't do it myself,
But they hear it from the public too. Quite often, people will say, how much they appreciate everything we're doing, and just the ability to get some materials is just it's life changing at these times when there's so many things you can't do these days. So no, they're really appreciative, and the staff has been working really hard, and I do try to let them know we do recognize that. So
Well, you have
Great.
made my summer, that's for sure.
that's great.
So with that, we can move on unless anyone has anything to add. The CLT did not meet since our last meeting, so there's nothing to report there. I don't know if the Friends met. Do you know, Bronwyn?
No, they're meeting, I think it's next week, next Thursday. We're doing
Okay.
Zoom. They went back and forth on how to do it. They wanted to come in and do it in the library, and I thought, well, if we're not having the public in, it doesn't seem too smart to have extra people
Yeah.
in. So they decided to do Zoom. That's next Thursday, I think.
So hopefully Catherine will be with us next month and we can get her report then. Is there anything else that anyone wanted to bring up that wasn't otherwise on the agenda? And if not, how about a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And thank
right.
you, Steve, for your great work.